Hey folks, Steve Bird here with Lisa Akers, also known as LL Akers, which we kind of try to figure out what that means. And so everybody's always hiding something in their initials. Always makes me curious of what's going on there. So welcome, Lisa.
Hi.
Hello. So, and where are you calling from today?
I am calling from Georgia, my new nest and my back porch, where I do most of my work anyway.
My back porch in Georgia. That sounds like a country song. So what does LL stand for, if you don't mind me asking?
That stands for Lisa Lowry Akers, and I kept that name because in my other life I was a nationally certified HR manager, and I had 3 certifications, which I've kind of let lapse, obviously. But my business name in that other world was Lisa Lowry.
Okay.
If I ever wanted to go back into that career, I just hung on to the Lowry from my first marriage.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. See, when authors try to hide that stuff and they don't tell it, I just make it up and tell people what it what it is. So you might as well tell us, because what I make up won't be as good.
Yeah, actually, I would like backspace, delete, because it stands for Lefevre, which is my stripper name.
Okay. Trust me, I'll edit that out.
No, you won't.
No, not that one.
Okay.
So anyway, the world we've been seeing lately, you know, the meme you see all the time that says, you know, post-apocalyptic fiction has been moved to current events. You know, that seems a little more realistic every day.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we started off this year with a kind of a political circus / scandal / sideshow that immediately segued into the COVID apocalypse, which is now immediately segueing into riots and cities burning, and you know, we just got more to look forward to.
But forgot the murder hornets and the ballistic rats.
The murder hornets. I used to be a beekeeper, and I was actually thinking about trying to get a hold of some murder hornets, because if I could train those things, that would be.
You know, I haven't been afraid of the pandemic. I haven't been that afraid of, you know, political unrest and looting and that sort of thing where I'm at. But when they said murder hornets, I got chills. I am terrified of bees. Please let there be no murder hornets.
But you know what? If the media is calling them murder hornets, that means the realistic truth is they're probably these fuzzy, cuddly little things that would make great pets. Because I usually get 100% 80 out on everything they say. So I'm thinking murder hornets aren't that bad.
It's the murder hornets. I will not go down easy. Locked and loaded. I got an EpiPen on my left and a 9mm on my right. Have
you seen the murder hornet gif where they put a murder hornet in with a praying mantis?
No.
That's awesome.
You need to post that in DD12.
I think I did a while back, or I might have did it in my own thing, but it said "Be the Mantis." It's awesome. You got to find that one. The murder hornet didn't stand a chance.
I will.
But anyway, since you know your books are now current events, tell us a little bit about. I know you've got other writings from before your entry into the post-apoc genre, but tell us about what you got going on with your SHTF series.
You mean like tell you from the beginning, or what I've got going on currently?
Well, kind of the whole thing, because some of the people watching this video may not have seen those books before. So tell us what they're about, and then, you know, where they're going to go in the future. That'd be nice.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple of different places they could go in the future, but we'll start at the beginning. At the beginning, it is it's kind of left in the air, but if they haven't read them by now, then they're about to get a spoiler, because it's actually a cyber attack on the grid. And I leave it as kind of an open-ended question, but I'm kind of implying that North Korea did it with help from Russia. Mm-hmm. And I haven't decided if that's really what's going to, you know, end up being the answer. When I wrote those books, it was when Rocket Man was giving us a lot of trouble. And remember, Trump with his fire and fury was going to go after him and that sort of thing. I think that was during book 1 or book 2. But in my head, I really felt like we were under a lot of risk from that little. I'm not supposed to cuss here, am I?
It's your video. Whatever you want to do.
The little man, Kim Jong-un with a little man complex. I really felt like we are under a lot of risk from him, and if he bellied up next to Putin or another country, they could absolutely take down our grid. So it was a cyber attack. So there wasn't a bullet shot. It's just people woke up one day and there was no power. And as every other event typically leads to it. It led to food shortages, gas shortages and food shortages, water shortages, and civil unrest, and looting, and then the same thing that most post-apocalyptic lines run into, people just trying to survive. So it's 4 storylines that I'm trying very hard to weave in, or to consolidate into 2 storylines to make it easier to write, because it is very detailed with 4 storylines to begin with. You've got the prepper out on the homestead, and his family just happens to be away, of course. He's got a daughter in college, and then his wife is with her sisters at Myrtle Beach, and everybody has to make their way home. So they do make their way home at the end of book 1, I believe. Could be wrong. It might be book 2. I think it's book 1.
You're like me. I'm the same way with my own books. Like, wait, what was that guy's name again?
Yeah. I actually reach out to readers and ask them questions about my books because I can't remember. I just, you know how it is when you finish a book and you just suddenly everything just leaves your head because you just need it to.
Well, it was such an intense period getting it all put together that there's kind of this like brain dump when it's all over, this just wash.
And then for me, I had this huge space between the last one, book 3, and book 4. I had this huge space because of the personal situation where I was not writing and publishing, and I go back and read book 3 and I'm like, did I write that? There's some really sick shit happening in book 3. I'm just talking about it today, and I told my friend, I said, I think I got a split personality because I cannot believe I came up with some of that dark stuff, and I don't even remember writing it. But yeah, I've kind of forgotten about that. But at the end of book 3, there's another event. So this series has a double event. You started out with a cyber attack, and the end of book 3 leaves the readers hanging and the characters hanging with another event that I insinuate just happened. And I don't want to say what that one is, but it's a big one. And it was a planned event from the country that hit us with the first event, the cyber attack. So I got a couple of different ways that can go. I'm going to see how book 4 does, which is what I'm writing. And I may end it at book 5, but I have an outline for 10 books. But I just, how it is when you start writing something, your mind automatically goes to the other thing you want to write.
Oh, yeah. So
it's like shiny object syndrome. I have this other series that I'm really, really wanting to write. And it was inspired by Earth Abides. Have you read that book?
No.
It's a classic. It's like one of the first post-apocalyptic books ever. Don't ask me who wrote it because I can't remember. But it starts after the event. The whole book is written after the event, and how they rebuild society and things like that. So that one's in my head and wanting to get out, and it's distracting me from the Shit Hit the Fan series. But we'll see.
That is a debilitating problem. I get that all the time. I'll be in the middle of a series or even in the middle of a book, and an entire novel from cover to cover will pop into my head that's like totally different, that it stands alone on its own, and it's just sitting there haunting me, wanting to be told, and that's debilitating when you're trying to finish something else.
No, what I have done, that happens to me all the time too. So what I've done now is when that does happen, I just get out a notepad and I start writing it and outlining the whole thing. So I've got a folder like this thick of books that I thought about and couldn't get out of my head until I wrote them down. And I need to do that with this current series and get it written down so I can get back focused on 100% on Shit Hit Fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I keep a folder. If I ever die, somebody's going to find that folder. It's got really fleshed out plots. And I should probably mark it and sell it before I die. College fund for Zach. But yeah, that's what I did to try to get the ball rolling on my current stuff and lose the shiny object syndrome. So that's where we're at.
I think if you're the kind of person though that goes into writing in the first place, shiny object syndrome is something that we're all kind of afflicted with. I was that kid in school that I'd be like, okay, I'm going to pay attention today, and I was focused, motivated. There's a clean chalkboard, and I'm on the same page as everybody else. The next thing I know, the board's covered with math problems. Everybody's like 12 pages further in the book than me, and I'm just like, what happened? But in my mind, there was just like some kind of crazy fantasy going on or something.
Yeah, that's how I am when I'm driving. Like even from here to the trash dump.
How did I get here?
Yeah, how did I get here? And then, but on the way back from the trash dump, which I love going to the dump because I'm going through all this new countryside that I'm not used to seeing and seeing all the animals, and it's just nice. But I just get in my own zone, and I'm like 45 minutes later, and I'm like, where am I? And I don't know my way around yet, so I have to turn on the GPS and hit home just to get home. It happens at least once a week. So I think it's the creative brain from writers. We just lose ourselves in our head.
Well, you're a professional daydreamer, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of these stories, I mean, some people probably sit down and say, okay, and study marketing stuff and study trends and try to figure out what kind of plot could I work in that would meet today's, sales trends. There's people that are like that, but like you said, with the distraction of other things getting in your head, for me, I don't have any control over it. Stuff just slams into my head. There it is. There's the whole book. I can literally often see the whole book from beginning to end. I just gotta sit down and watch the movie in my head and write down what I see.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is for me. It's like a movie. If they could just plug into our brain, and they actually can do this, it's just not available to the public. But they have now equipment, technology that can plug in and see what's happening in the brain. If it could get a little bit more detailed and take those movies that we see and just roll them out into a book, think how many books we could get out then, Bird.
Yeah, but think of the other movies they would see that you wouldn't want out.
That's true.
So
they have to learn how to compartmentalize first before they get them in there.
Yeah, you got to be able to put up walls and partitions, and just, you can access this port and that drive, but that's all. The rest of that's off limits.
We'll let them go for the other authors first, and then, like guinea pigs. We'll send them. We'll suck them on Boyd. Stick them on Boyd.
Right. Well, it could basically be, if it was kind of, the dragon stuff that Boyd and those guys used to, is that dragon? Is that what they used to dictate? But basically have a mental dictation where it just looks into your mind and just starts writing it down. That would work. But the movie thing, maybe not. That might not be a good idea. But so your series, you've got a cyber tech that takes down the grid, and which is nice. That's a bit different than, there's a lot of EMP stuff out there, but the grid is a lot of people's big fear because we're also addicted to the things that, in my opinion, we really don't need. We don't have to have air conditioning. We don't have to stream Netflix, and we don't have to, maybe we would probably be a whole lot better if we didn't have the internet to access Facebook, to get mad every day. But it's a necessary evil. But the supply chain aspect of it that you mentioned, that's where things would really get sticky, And you look at, how just in time, how the coronavirus has affected, the industries out there today with supplies. Everybody uses just-in-time shipping, where they scan a can of beans at the register, it orders another can of beans gets unloaded off the truck, it just, because nobody wants inventory. They don't want things to go bad, they don't want waste, and they don't want things that may not sell. So you're more profitable if the things barely sit on your shelf. So back in the day, there was a big warehouse section in all these stores that had just, tons and tons of extra product that, as the shelf got depleted, they could refill it. But now, as the shelf gets depleted, a truck pulls in to replenish it. But so you take that JIT, now that automated ordering system, and you crash the grid. Now, even if they wanted to place an order for another can of beans, how do you do it? Obviously you should be able to pick up the phone and make a phone call, but people are so addicted to those automated way of doing things, it would take a little while just to kind of get that manual paper ordering thing down. And then, oh, by the way, how do they pay for those beans to the supplier? Through electronic transactions. They're not.
How many people are going to stop that truck on its way?
Oh, yeah. That's happening right now. That's happening today. There's truckers, out there.
The looters, there's a copy posted in DD12. It's basically saying, stop our truck at your own peril because we're not stopping.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I mean, those truckers out on the road, they take a lot of shit from people, and they already aren't appreciated for what people are just now realizing how important they are to our economy and to us individually.
They're everything.
With coronavirus. And they're done. They've been out there risking their life for this virus, and now they've got these protesters that are just stepping up and stopping them and trapping them in their truck for hours longer and making them late back on their run.
Well, not just that. There's been riots in the past. Riots basically that are playing out like this, where they're dragging truckers out of the trucks and beating them nearly to death, if not to death.
Absolutely. I think all the truckers should be armed. If they don't have a firearm, they need to have at least some bear spray, and they just need to spray the shit out of those people. Yeah,
and the problem with being armed, though, is they got to drive through all those different states with all those different rules.
True.
That would be the bear, but yeah, bear spray, that'd be a good one. Have just like a bear spray fogger that just sprays it all around the truck. He doesn't even have to do it himself; just hits a button. That would be awesome.
Attack dogs, bear spray.
Yeah. But no, yeah, those guys, they're critical. the way this economy functions, people think that strawberries are available year round. Guess what? They're not. They're only available because of our global supply chain and all those critical links in it. So you take the grid down, like in your books, and all of a sudden, all of that stuff goes away. It might would be able to recover eventually, but there's going to be a while where there's people are going to be snatching up more than just toilet paper. I mean, look at that. Look at.
There's in my little podunk town that I live in, I still have not seen toilet paper on the shelves in 2 months. Luckily, I had toilet paper because I saw this coming. But when are we going to get toilet paper again? When is it going to be available again?
Well, that's the thing about the supply chain. Once it's disrupted, it takes a little while to get back on your feet.
Yeah.
If you look at, say, musical instrument companies right now, and I know musical instruments aren't a thing that's critical, but they're a good example of how our supply chain works. If you wanted to buy a guitar today, chances are 2/3 of the ones at any given big huge online retailer are gone. The ones that they have in the back are the only ones they're going to have for the next few months. Because they've. I was talking to a sales rep at a big guitar store the other day. That's why I got this fresh in my head. But it's a combination of manufacturing disruption, because some of the states these things are in that had the stricter measures that shut down their production, and then you've got the transportation stuff, and then the some places that couldn't ship, some places could ship, some places could manufacture, some couldn't, and they've all got behind. And then components, some of the components that were made overseas, and those factories got shut down, so they're running into a dry spell where they're probably going to have 3 or 4 months where they can't get any inventory, because all this big snowball of a backlog of all these different components it takes to get that one product to the market. And that's just an example for everything, for its food production, or the healthcare items that have been snatched up. All of those things, if we haven't ran out of them now, we may still be about to run out of them because of that big bubble and that wave in the supply chain.
Yeah, and then they say there's another wave of this virus coming, this alleged virus. But whatever it is, they may make it happen again in the fall. So if people haven't stocked up, or they've used what they had stocked up, they best get busy restocking up wherever they can find it.
Just stay stocked up. I mean, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
If people, I better run out and buy some ammo before it's all gone, guess what? When you have that thought, it's too late. You really should have already had it.
Which leads me into, I actually had another series that was, I don't know if you know this or not. I think you do. Did you know I had an erotica suspense series?
Yeah, I don't know the pen name, but yes.
Okay. So, and I'm not giving up the pen name, but that series has been unpublished. And the reason it was unpublished is because it's very, very, very spicy. And I had a copy of it, a hard copy of the paperbacks in my office, and my son came across them. And he's like, "Is this you, Mom?" And I was like, no, that's not me. And he figured out that it was me. So he was going to possibly tell his friends' mothers that was me. And I was so embarrassed that I immediately went in and hit the unpublished on all 6 books. And then a little while later, I decided to flesh them out a little bit. And it was a serial, which was episodic books, kind of like a TV show.
Yeah, that's how I did my Society Lost. I like that style.
So so they were shorter, but I took them all 6 of them, and I converted them into a trilogy, which were bigger books, full novels, and then I republished them with a new pen name that my son did not know about, and I didn't even get hard copies this time, and he found out about it again because I had the ebook covers printed out on my printer, and I was like, oh my God, he found out again, and I didn't want him to read them, and I didn't want him to tell people that was his mom, so I unpublished them again. So what I'm going to do, and they did really well. Like every time I published one, it would hit #1 in 3 or 4 categories. It's all about these 2 girls who are on. These girls, one of them is a trucker's wife, and her husband is out on the road, and her newfound friend go on a journey, and it's a journey across the country as well as a sexual journey, and it is extremely spicy. And I have not put that back out because I just didn't really know how readers would take that. And if they maybe wouldn't read my other stuff that doesn't have that kind of, those kinds of saying. But I have decided that it is worth reading, and we have a lot of readers in DD12 who have begged to find out the pen name. So I have woven in an apocalyptic thread, whereas exactly what we're talking about has happened. The supply chain has been stopped. And and there's some very important things on those trucks that Americans need, very important, such as the medication that Trump is pushing for the virus. If the virus was real, I'm not saying that it is, but if it was, and if this medication did indeed work, and I'm not saying that it does, but if it did, because this is fiction we're talking about now.
Right.
And anyway, they're commandeering these trucks, and the truckers are taking this into their own hand. And so anyway, it's now a 3-book series with Apocalyptic in it, an event, and a full ending, aside from the other full happy ending that it did have, and not that kind of happy ending. But that's going to be out probably in the next 90 days.
So it's got people living like it's their last day on Earth, you could say.
Actually, it's got people the opposite, because what's happened is the virus has come, and just like it has in real life, and they've been locked in and lockdown and social distancing, and suddenly they decide, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Kind of like the Americans have recently decided.
Right.
They just kind of go hog crazy living, and they do things they normally wouldn't do because they've been so cooped up for so long that they're just a little wild. And so it's and there is still like a mandate to stay in your own home and do this and do that, but they're breaking that. They're breaking it. Only essential workers are supposed to be out on the roads, and these young ladies they're just saying, to hell with it. I'm going out on the road, and they have another objective, that they're not involved in the truckers taking the food and supplies and commandeering them. They have another mission that they're on, and I don't want to spoil it for the readers, but they go on this mission and they just say, to hell with it, we're going to do it. So it's got a little bit of the pandemic weaved in it, and an event, and something that I see the truckers doing eventually one day, and that is taking control of what's in their trucks and making sure that it gets to people that need it. And that's kind of what these truckers are doing. So I'm giving a nod to the truckers because my father is a trucker, a nod of respect to them, and just kind of weaving that in there. It just kind of happened. It was already half written as a erotica suspense series, and it was just wide open to weave that post-apocalyptic pandemic into it. So it's there, and it's gonna come out, and then they can stop asking me my pen name because they'll have it.
And it's good to put truckers in that hero position too, because that's really what they are. None of us would eat without them. None of us would have what we have without them. We could survive in other ways. But the world would completely radically change. Again, strawberries aren't available year round. They are because of the complicated logistic supply chain we have. Cut that off, and we're back to living like people used to live, where if you want fruit in the winter, it's canned fruit that you canned yourself down in your pantry. The level of comfort we have is because people like that are willing to put up with what they put up with.
Exactly.
And there's always a need for truckers. And every time I hear somebody complaining that they can't find work, it's like, go drive over the road truck for a while. Well, I don't want to do that. They don't want to put up with the hardship and all that work and effort that is required for that job. So the people that do it need to be commended for it.
Yes, they do. They're sacrificing most holidays, their family time. They don't get to stretch out in their chair in front of the TV at night and have dinner with their family. My dad has missed so many things over the years because he's been a long haul trucker for over 2 decades at least, maybe 3. He's 70, so long time. And it always frustrates me when we're trying to plan a family thing and we have to figure out when will dad be in. And he's missed a lot, so they do make huge sacrifices so that we can have our needs met.
Yeah, my big respect for him, a part of it came when I was flying for an airline, and it's basically the same life. Mm-hmm. I'd be home 2 days a week, and when you are home, you're not sitting back relaxed at the lake, chilling. You're mowing the lawn, changing the oil, fixing the leaky gutters. You're catching up on all that stuff you couldn't do during the week. So when everybody else has got their weekend off to play, the trucker or anybody that's in that kind of logistics, supply chain, transportation kind of industry, they're playing catch up on those couple days just to go right back out on the road. There's never really a break. Mm-hmm. But that sounds like a pretty interesting story there. So I'm sure now there's going to be a lot of people pestering you about when that's going to come out.
Y'all don't pester me. If you're watching this, do not pester me because it freezes us up when you pester us. And we just go on lockdown and we're like, oh my God, I can't write anything.
Yeah, writers get mad and huffy and go, well, fine then, I won't post it at all.
Yeah. Well, the little people in our brain get mad and huffy and they just stop talking. And then we're like, oh great, they stopped talking because you're harassing the shit out of them. So don't make my little people stop talking.
You got to let it be the little people's idea. So down in Georgia, Speaking of the current events apocalypse still, where I assume you're in rural Georgia,
Yes.
so you don't have any immediate fears of the current events, I take it?
Well, I'm actually very close to South Carolina and to a somewhat large city there. I mean, somebody could be here in 20 minutes from that side, and then from I'm in a very rural city. I'm a very small city, so no, I don't really have any concerns from the Georgia side, but from the South Carolina side, I do. So I've got plans that it's connected by a big bridge, a really long bridge that overlooks the. And I'm recruiting my neighbors here, my bachelor and widower here, and we're just going to take over the bridge. So
there you go.
We're going to down. We've already picked out our little hidey spots, and we're just going to shut it down if things happen, and we're going to recruit everyone else on the road as we go. We're not going to tell them about it ahead of time. It's nothing for crazy. And we're not letting anybody cross the bridge into our little podunk town. We got this.
Yeah, where I live, we don't have bridges. Well, I guess there's a couple bridges to take out, but we're in the absolute middle of nowhere. We're 45 minutes to a small town Walmart, and then it's an hour and a half to the nearest city.
Well, I wouldn't consider that out of their range. Did you see what happened last night? I mean, they were rioting in Champaign, Illinois, and then they headed out to the very rural farmland areas. So they are purposely going out to the country.
Well, I welcome them. My neighbors, the people. I mean, it sounds like a war here every day, and especially the day after Christmas when everybody's shooting their new Christmas presents. This wouldn't be the place to go threatening people's lives, and it's just a bunch of crazy Amish people they're just as motivated as me for the zombie apocalypse to get here. I mean, trust me, they are really. They're
Amish people?
Oh yeah, yeah, we've got an Amish farrier that comes out in his little horse and buggy to do horse hooves, and they're ready to throw down. Trust me. So. We're surrounded by good people, but it's I know nothing's technically outside of the range, but we've all got bulldozers and backhoes and dump trucks. We can make stuff go away.
And hogs. Oh, you've got some hogs.
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of good stuff like that, but and horrible cell reception. So you probably wouldn't be able to stream your protest videos anyway.
You can't call for help.
Right. I have to have a cell phone booster just to make my phone work.
Wow, really? Seriously?
Yeah, I've got it mounted up probably about 20 feet off the ground. It's a real big, huge antenna. It's amazing, though. You go from zero signal to streaming high-speed videos, for like $180 worth of hardware.
And then do you have to pay extra per month for that?
No, it's just a big antenna that picks up a whole lot more cell signal than your tiny little phone antenna can, and then it amplifies that signal and rebroadcasts it in your area of your home.
What about internet? Does it cover that too?
Well, you get internet through your cell phone, yeah. So our internet, where we are, for all the people that don't know, I'm 100% basically off-grid. It's all solar and no wires at all going to the house. So our internet is a cellular hotspot, and that cellular hotspot is fed by that cellular signal booster. So there's no wires coming to me.
So you can watch a YouTube video and there's no problems or.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's perfect.
Oh,
and the crazy thing is without that booster, we have nothing. We can't even answer the phone.
Well, when we get off this, when you get time, send me a link to that, and I have a friend that might be interested in that.
Yeah, it's magic. You gotta do a little research and figure out what band your local tower's on and what frequencies they're on and stuff like that. And make sure you get equipment that matches your local towers. But you can download apps that help you do that. And then it's magical. So between that and a satellite dish, you don't need wires going to your house.
Wow, I am very interested in that. Not for me, but for my friend who has a teenage boy who would love to get faster internet service.
Yeah, it works. And so as long as you got a cellular plan that's got affordable data to it, it's just as good as high-speed internet. I mean, we stream movies, onto the TV through it. So it's way better than a phone. So if you're gauging cellular internet off of what your phone can do, it's no comparison.
Cool.
But so yeah, go to the middle of nowhere, folks. You can take care of your internet problems. No reason to stay in the city for that. So now that the coronavirus thing seems to be petering out and all that, I guess life's pretty much probably back to normal where you're at.
No, not totally back to normal. Like from in my gauge, when they open up the TJ Maxx, life will be back to normal because I miss TJ Maxx.
Why are they not?
Look.
Why are they not open?
Well, they haven't they haven't opened up any of the stores as far as I know. Maybe they haven't. I just don't know. But they've all been closed down. The grocery store's open. Walmart's open. I don't go to Walmart. It's like a cesspool in there of germs, and they have nothing I want anyway. But the there's some restaurants that are opening, and I think just in the past few weeks, and I have actually gone to a restaurant 2 or 3 times, and I'm still alive. But I don't think anything else is open.
Really, we've been Tennessee has pretty much been normal, except for restaurants. You couldn't eat in restaurants and bars and gyms. I think those are the 3 things that were affected. And other than that, it was all just recommendations. You know, there wasn't a supreme overlord type governor saying you're not allowed to go to church. They just said, "Hey, here's the CDC's regulations. We suggest you follow them." You know, there wasn't a mandate.
The churches have been closed here too. I know that because when I pass by them, they're telling you that they're streaming live off the internet and stuff like that. Now they may have opened in the past week. I haven't really been anywhere much in the past week, but they have been closed.
Yeah, ours are back to normal, and most of them did the streaming stuff and they followed that advice voluntarily. But there wasn't a government edict mandating it. But now we ate at a Chinese buffet for lunch today in Oak Ridge. So everything's totally back to normal here. And if you can survive a Chinese buffet, you're good to go.
Especially during a pandemic.
Right.
I'll check on you in the next 48 hours.
Right, but yeah, it's good. It feels good to be back to normal.
Yeah.
But so rural Georgia life's good. How far are you from Paul?
I don't know exactly, but Paul did come see me. He's one of the only he's the second DD12er that's ever been in my home. So Paul did come out to see me because I had to buy some of his freaking amazing ammo.
Paul Hendrickson, by the way, folks, the owner of Maker Arms, Maker Bullets, and more.
Bullets. Best ammo ever, anywhere. Plus, super nice guy. So anyway, Paul did come out and see me, and he brought some ammo for myself and a friend. And I think it took him like an hour and a half to get here. I could be wrong, and he may have been doing other things with his medical company. I know he has some deliveries and stuff to do because he also owns a medical company, doesn't he? He
does, and he also is about to be why am I going blank on that ammo company? Fiocchi. He's about to be Fiocchi's projectile supplier for all of their home defense loads.
Oh,
yeah, that's a big thing coming down the road for him, and it involves a new facility and everything. Unless something's changed since last time I talked to him, but
okay. Just so you know, Bird, there is a fly that is harassing me. I'm not waving my arms around because I'm crazy. There is a fly.
She's got the meth itches, folks. That's what it is. She keeps feeling bugs on her.
You'll see it in a minute. It keeps landing. It's one of those when it lands, so I keep trying to nonchalantly wipe it off my legs. I have on shorts, so it's biting me. Anyway, yeah, Paul, if that makes me evaluate what I have and if I have enough, because if he's getting ready to get a big contract like that, DD12ers, get the ammo now from Paul before he gets too busy to make it for us.
Stuff's awesome. It's in all of my carry guns, and if you guys go to, well, if you're watching this video on YouTube, you're obviously on my YouTube channel, but there's a real old video of mine that's a couple years old where I took a custom 4570 load that he made for me with some of that radically expanding rounds, and a 4570 is a slow, heavy bullet. These suckers cook. They were over 2,000 foot per second, and that's ripping for something that big. And I did a video where I shot a watermelon with it, and I did several different types of ammo and with his, and the watermelon completely juicified. I mean, there was not one solid piece of watermelon you could find anywhere. It just it was like, yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. It's an old video. It's very poorly edited. I was just goofing off. I wasn't trying to actually have a YouTube channel, but I was basically just showing people what that crazy bullet would do. But it was like a movie special effects thing, the way it made the watermelon just completely disappear. You could not find one piece of it, but juicified it. But so it's amazing stuff.
I do have a couple other DD12ers around here. I won't say their names because I don't know if they want people to know their locations. But I actually have one DD12er that I found out is here in my town, and he's an EMT. So he reached out to me, private message. Him and his wife and children live in my little town, and so it was reassuring for me to know that I have a DD12er right here in case of an emergency. I'm sure I could reach out to him. And then there's John Gassett. I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying his name. He says it all the time. John Gassett is somewhere in Georgia. I don't think he's far from me. But there's a good handful that are somewhere close by me. So
Yeah, there's a bunch in my area too. It's a small world.
hmm
Speaking of DD12ers, some people got some questions for you. Quite
Oh,
a
boy.
few, actually.
I can pass, right?
So, folks, for the people watching this video that don't know what we're talking about when we keep saying DD12, why don't you explain that?
Okay. DD12 is a Facebook group and a company, and it is basically a book and audio group based on post-apocalyptic fiction, and it's 12 authors. So that's where Dirty Dozen, it's the Dirty Dozen Post-Apoc Army, and DD12 for short. So Dirty Dozen, 12 authors. And it's a rowdy group. It's a it's a rowdy group, but it's also extremely family oriented in grown-ups. How do I say that, Bird? I mean,
There's a lot of crazy uncles.
yes, there's a lot of crazy.
No, I mean that in a good way.
The crazy uncles. And it does get very political, and due to the nature of the genre that we write, it is mostly right-leaning, but we do allow lefties in, as long as not there just to create division. And we have a lot of them that are just as much family as anyone else, and we encourage civil discourse, and we'll throw you out if you act like a dick. So that's what DD12 is, and everyone is welcome.
Yeah, it's a very, and just for everybody else from my perspective, I've never seen a Facebook group before where you actually end up knowing everyone in real life in person. That's a bit different. It's usually a bunch of.
We've expanded it, so instead of just online, we have DD12 meetups, and we have state chapter leaders. The state chapter leaders and their assistants, they're not really assistants, what do they call them? They're core group leaders, which is, you have the leader of the state. Say for Georgia, we have two people. We have the leader of the chapter, and then we have a core person who helps them. And those people put together real life events, and we post them in our event section on DD12. And that way, people who want to reach out and meet other people who like books or audio or prepping, because the group is also about prepping, they can meet up in real life. Typically, they're just hanging out, eating food, having some beers, campfire. There's a couple things we don't allow during these DD12 events just because of liability for me, and that is shooting. And a few other things I don't recall offhand, but yeah, this actually rolls over to real life, and we've had hundreds of people make real life friends.
We had a wedding.
Hold on a second.
You definitely in Georgia. You got your big old pickup truck there, rolling down the street.
Yep. It's lifted and everything. Sorry about that.
At least it ain't squatted, right? It's not squatted, is it?
So they get together for these events, and then once or twice a year, the authors and I, as many of us that can, we get together for an event that Bird actually was going to way before DD12, and so was Franklin Horton, and that was HLS. And then during the HLS event, which is an event that teaches you how to do things like homesteading and
heritage life skills, yeah.
Yeah, heritage life skills. Jan, what's the last name?
Starrett. Jan and Bill, they run Carolina Readiness Supply over in Waynesville, North Carolina, and they have a website and they ship. So if you need any,
but while they're doing their event during the day, I do a DD12 event at night at the campground that we all stay at. And the last one that we had at last count was 79 people, and then I stopped counting. It was a big to-do, and it was a lot of fun. So we do these real life events. The DD12 is more than just a Facebook group. It's a real life thing. We've had people who have met and fallen in love and moved across country, several couples, and married each other. Well, almost married each other, or gonna marry each other.
So you're saying the group ruins lives?
It does. It ruins lives every day.
Just kidding, Jax.
Jack, listen to him. He's a dude.
He knows me. He met me in real life long before any of those events. Actually, just through the books. He used to live in Knoxville, Tennessee area. Well, Harriman. He used to live in Harriman. So.
There's Chuck.
What's that?
And Chuck and Steph, and then we've got.
That's true.
And we have a couple other couples. I mean, we have a handful of other couples that y'all don't know about, but I know because I'm the mama of the group, and they're going well.
So you're all up on the gossip.
Running it.
So yeah, anyway. You also check it out. The questions that I'm about to ask, they all came from that group. I made a thread and asked folks, you see if anybody's got any questions for, post them here. So when you see me reading these questions, that's where it comes from. So if you're interested, you ought to go check that page out. I highly recommend it. And there's a lot of interaction too. It's not just about books. The authors and the readers are all interacting, and getting to know each other. It's a very unique experience. So the first question's from Boyd. And if you've watched any of these other interviews, you're going to see this as a recurring question, and it's kind of turned into an inside joke. But, Lisa, we already know that you are, in fact, a robot. My first question is, what kind? If you haven't watched the other interviews, that doesn't make sense. But,
Yeah.
so, inside joke. And then you said... Question 2, are you going to beat me in the bet? So what's this bet?
Oh my God, I want to beat him so bad, but he went off to take. The bet is, both Boyd and I had a phase here where we haven't published, and we give each other hell about it. And it's like the more someone gives you hell, the harder it gets. But we had a deal to race each other to the finish line to see who would publish first. And you remember when Boyd was on that. He was just like putting a book out left and right, and he did so many books so fast that he reached a burnout level, like we all do, and he had to refill the well. Well, his well has been filled, and he got inspiration when he went to Texas. I think it was last week or the week before, and he got like 30,000 words down. So he's probably gonna kick my ass. I don't know. Boyd's had a lot of bad things happen to him in the last year and a half. A lot of loss of a lot of family, a lot of things he doesn't even mention on DD12 because he's a freaking warrior. But he's had a lot of shit happen to him, which is another reason he hasn't got books out. But I can't help but hope that one more little thing happens, like maybe a flat tire every time he goes somewhere, or his computer breaks down, and it's repairable, or suddenly he can't use Word anymore. Just something to stall him for another 4 or 5 weeks, because I really want to kick Boyd's ass on this race, but I think he's got me.
Well, you need to hope that he, bites his tongue really hard or something, so that the dragon can understand what he's saying, because that's probably where he got that 30,000 words, was probably driving all that way to Texas and back on Dragon.
I don't think y'all should be allowed to use the dragon speaking, because I can't figure it out, and I talk too fast for it to understand me, so I can't use it.
I don't use it. I don't think I could.
Oh, you don't?
No, I don't. It's not how my mind works. I look at the page and I look at the words, and my mind moves around back and forth between the words. Whereas if I'm just saying it out, I don't. I understand how it benefits them. I just don't think that's how my brain would function.
Yeah.
I think it would just be a bunch of random talking.
I edit while I write. Like everything has to be perfect. So as it goes, and every night I edit the last chapter. But while I'm actually writing it, I'll edit one sentence 3 or 4 times. So I'm constantly backspacing, and you can't do that with Dragon. It just doesn't work that way. So
right.
I'll never be able to do that. I'll always be the slowpoke.
Well, I'm right there with you. So is that bet for a post-apoc release, or is that for his shape-shifting werebear book?
It is for a post-apocalyptic release. Something for the group. So it has to be post-apocalyptic.
Okay. Oh, that's the bet. It has to be something for the group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And next question from Mary Lane Egan. How did you get started? So you were in HR before all this. Was it all the drama from all the people that you had to deal with as an HR manager?
No, I actually wasn't an HR manager at my last job. I've been an HR manager, but when I had my son, I took a human resources, there's a mosquito flying around me, so I took a human resources support position so I could stop traveling and work only 45 hours a week. So, but that was for the state of South Carolina. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law died, and I made a promise to him on his deathbed that we would not put her in a nursing home. So I left my job at the state to take care of her, and we made a hospital room. We converted my home office into a hospital room. So I took care of her for 18 months, and after she passed, I started working for a small publishing company doing editing. And I won't mention the company because what I was doing was basically development, editing, proofing, that sort of thing. And they did all kinds of books. And I told this woman that if some of the books that she sent me were really out there, they had bestiality or some bad stuff. Anyway, I told her if I got one more book that had anything to do with animals and sex or a child being sexually hurt, that I was going to quit. And the very next jobs that she sent me were those two exact things. So I quit and I hung up my shingle. And for those that are familiar, I mean, there's a lot of writers watching this, and you probably remember the Grammar Genie. And I never revealed, actually, before that I was the Grammar Genie. I'm the Grammar Genie. So I was the grammargenie.com for, I don't know, a year and a half. And I worked for a lot of best-selling authors in doing book doctoring, development editing. That's all I did. And over and over again, they kept saying, Lisa, you're really good at this. You need to write your own book. You need to write your own book. So finally, I went out to the garage and I started writing a book. And in 6 weeks, I had my first 92,000 word book, which was The Girl. And it just flowed out. It was my longest book yet and my quickest to write. And it did really well. I mean, it was very slow coming out, very, very slow. I think I sold 4 books in a month. But then the bloggers got a hold of it. And bloggers they're just brutal when they do reviews, but they loved it. The bloggers absolutely loved it. I've got several little one-liners reviews on my page about that book where they spoke, but they sent it out for me on their sites, and the book kind of took off a little bit, and everyone kept saying, I want more. So I wrote book 2, 3, and 4. And while I was writing it, I was in a small writers group with Boyd and 4 or 5 other people. And it was when a lot of this political stuff was happening, and Trump was playing chicken with North Korea. And suddenly I decided I wanted to write Post-Apocalyptic, but I wanted to finish the Let Me Go series because I really wanted the same characters, all these 3 women, to find their forever husbands and cross over. I wanted to give them everything their hearts desired and then pull the rug out from under them in a new genre, such as Shut Off the Lights, and see how they dealt with it. So I was finishing up that series, but in the meantime, in this little writers group, we were brainstorming my Shit Hit the Fan series. So it was actually brainstormed about 2 years. I had covers on it 2 years before it ever came to fruition. And that's where I met Boyd. And I was kind of the mama of that little group too. And Boyd was in his beginnings, and he had not yet wrote Post-Apocalyptic. And I'm about to answer another question. Someone's going to ask, how did I get the name Mama? How did Boyd start calling me Mama? And even though we're not that far apart in age, I mean, he's only like 15 years older than me.
Boyd's a child, isn't he? And he like in his early 40s or something.
I don't want to his age because someone's going to ask me about mine. Nope. So anyway, in this group, I was the mama of the group because myself and there was another writer, another very good writer. Her name is Jen, both editors before we were writers. And so we would take Boyd's work and we would help him with things that he didn't know about, like dangling participles and dialogue tags and, just things like that. And so I guess kind of in a way mentor him on that side of things. Boyd is a storyteller. He has not been trained professionally to write. And he'll admit this. I'm not talking bad about Boyd here. He is a hell of a storyteller. So he just needed some tweaks to his, putting it on paper, and his layout and his structure, things like that. Mostly just, just little things. And so that's how he started calling me Mama. And that's where I started. I started in that little writer group after I left my job to take care of my mother-in-law.
Awesome.
Well, that was a long answer to a short question. I'm sorry.
No, that's the kind of people want to know. That's the kind of thing people want to know.
Okay. Next.
Jessica Bashwinger. I always want to say Bangwasher for some reason when I see that name, and I have to slow down and pronounce Bashwinger, if that's even right. Anyway, she says, Lisa, want to know the pen name for the quote-unquote other genre of books, which you already talked about. Signed, Frustrated Women Everywhere. And don't worry, folks, because Boyd chimed in right after that and said he already knows it. Just shoot him a PM, and he'll let you know.
And he won't. We've been talking about this for years. I know all Boyd's pen names, and he knows mine, but we will never give each other up. We've been before.
He just needs to let people know about the werebears. That'll people will dig that.
Hey, your werebears
don't be ashamed, Boyd.
This stuff's hot.
Hot and furry.
Yeah, hot and furry. There you go. Boyd's got a lot of different genres that he writes in. He is a man of many talents.
So, Kathy Moses. Lisa, if you could spend 1 hour with anyone, past or present, who would it be? Me. She's spending that hour right now.
It would be Robin Williams. I don't idolize celebrities or stars or anybody like that. I just, they put their pants on the same way we do, and I've never been one to idolize people like that. But Robin Williams is very, very, very special to me, and he was before he died. And I would like to have that hour before he committed suicide to be there, and talk him out of it, or find out what's wrong, or just listen and change that course. I would love to have a chance to do that.
That's a good one. Yeah, and most celebrities, if you spend an hour with him, you'd probably realize you didn't really like him anyway. But in his case, it's a special individual.
Yeah, and Robin Williams suffered from, we're finding out he suffered from depression and stuff like a lot of creatives do. And I'll be honest to say, I do suffer from depression. Not clinical, it's usually situational depression, but it's very serious when it happens, very serious. And Robin Williams has been instrumental in pulling me up and out. And I'm not unique in that. He has helped millions and millions of people who suffer from depression, whether it be from his funny movies or from one particular movie that scares people who have depression. And I'll answer that question. I'll answer the question of the movie in another question that someone's asked me what my favorite movie is. But Robin Williams would be the person that I'd like to spend an hour with.
That's a good one. Bruce Herder, after the stuck in the unlocked shower incident, then stuck in the black dress needing help from some handsome young neighbor incident, and now the I spilled antifreeze in my truck Friday, and now it's Wednesday, how do I get rid of the smell incident? What is your next most embarrassing faux pas?
It's probably going to be on this video. I hate these things. Bert knows it. I don't want to do on-camera things. You guys know I avoid these things.
I told her I would edit out everything embarrassing, but I won't.
I don't believe him. He says I'm supposed to wave my hand, edit this, and he'll take it out. So I'm sure you guys are going to see my hands waving because he's not going to take out all the embarrassing moments. But
I'll play them in a loop over and over again, actually. Yeah, it's kind of the opposite.
And everything else. I don't know what it'll be, but I'm sure it'll happen soon. My life is one long series of catastrophes.
Lainey Taylor. Lisa, if you could choose a team that you had to hunker down for safety with, which 10 people would you choose?
Oh, this one's easy. I would absolutely choose my DD12 boys. But someone's got to go. So it's not about who I'd choose, it's who's got to go, because if I only have 10, 2 people got to go.
Well, Scow, I don't know, I always want to say Shao, he ended up getting killed in the cross-country journey to try to get to the East Coast. So, that's a long way to go to try to survive.
I can't lose Ryan. He's like a baby brother to me. And he gets me, and I don't have to put a filter on. We're both so into this politics, and we can get super angry and yell at each other about what's happening and then just laugh about it. I can't lose Ryan. Who else can we cut? Chris Weatherman, he doesn't need me. He doesn't need us. He's huge. Chris, I'm sorry. You got to go. Okay, one more. Who else can we cut?
He lives daily with his hunker down group.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll think about who the other one is to cut, but it's going to be, if I have to choose 10, it's going to be from my DD12 author lineup, because I know these guys know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, and it's funny is that most of us actually kind of live the pre-apocalyptic life. We're not just writing about it. We're kind of living it. Tim Roberts, do you build a story around characters or build characters around the story? How defined is the plot line before you actually start writing?
My plots are very defined, typically. Now, my first book, I've written a few of them with no outline. The Let Me Go series, the first one was without an outline. And then book 2 of the She Hit the Fan series, I did not have an outline. I did that one also in 6 weeks. But typically, I have an event, such as a cyber attack, and I know what I want to happen at the end, and I typically write the ending before I write the beginning, and then my ending will get pushed back as I add more events and more things and throw more shit at the characters. So the ending gets pushed back as I write the book. But even though I start with an event, it is very character driven, because I used Libby Hawker's Take Off Your Pants book, and she's got this little exercise in there for every character. She's a friend of me and Boyd's, and the book is Take Off Your Pants. In other words, be a plotter, not a pantser. And I use a little exercise in that book for every character, and it makes you really, really, really think about your characters. Like for Grayson, who's my main character in the She Hit the Fan series, I look really deep inside of Grayson, and I was like, what does Grayson want? He wants his family to be safe. What does he need to work on? What kind of a character arc can I give Grayson? What can he do to change? Does he need to change for the better? Does he need to change for the worse? Is he going to be a better guy? Is he going to be a bad guy? What motivates him? What is he afraid of? And I do this for every single character. So I've got character sheets on every single character, so I can really, really know the character before I start writing. So I would have to say that they're definitely character driven.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Wayne Stevens, Where did the idea for DD12 come from?
Well, I don't know if it's the group or the title, but I'll give a long answer and I'll make it quick. The group came about because 2.5 years ago, when we were all struggling here to get visibility, because it is hard. I mean, there's like 2 billion books on Amazon alone, at least, and there was a lot of entrepreneurs who figured out that, hey, I can throw a book out here and I can sell it, and I don't really have to be a writer. I can just hire somebody to write it. So you got all these people who are hiring ghostwriters and paying them pennies per page in other countries. And you got these masterminds, which that is a word that's been used in different ways. But the way I mean it is, they figure out the algorithms and they figure out the tricks, and they push real writers like me and Bird and the DD12 guys. They push us to the side of the road when we're working hard to give a real story from our heart, from our brains, and it's not the same story over and over, the same cookie cutter story. It's a real story. And we work hard to do that, and then we fight these people who are churning it out. So I found out about these people, and they first, before they got to Post-Apocalypse, they were in romance, and they took over that genre, and they were putting really good romance authors out of work. I mean, people were having to take their kids and, take them out of their private schools and sell their second car and go get day jobs on writing, because these people came in and dominated their genre. And I knew that they were on their way to ours, so I infiltrated their groups, and I figured out some of the things that they were doing to get this visibility. And they were black hat people, but I took everything that they were doing that was good and above the line, and I just watched it for like a year. And then I reached out and I talked to Bird and Hort and Boyd and Chris Weatherman and several others, and together we launched DD12. Everybody gives me the credit, but together we all did launch this DD12. I had what I wanted to do in mind and figured out how to do it. And then I reached out to these guys, and they helped me do that. So I don't take that credit myself. But that's how we got started. And as far as the name, I knew I wanted 12 authors, and then it just popped in my head, Dirty Dozen. And unfortunately, I'm having problems with that name because I thought I had locked up the DD12 Dirty Dozen Post-Apoc Army name and copyright and logo. Turns out that it wasn't done, and the lawyer did not communicate with me for over a year after paying thousands of dollars. And so now I'm having to fight that fight again. But I'll win. I'm not worried about it. Just got to get a new lawyer and put a little bit more money towards it. And because I love our name. But somebody out there has the name Dirty Dozen, and they're saying that the copyright office at the government is saying that I can't use those two words in the full extended name, which is bullshit. So we'll get past this.
And the next question is from a Stephen Bird. He wants to know, why is your phone sitting right next to your microphone so that every time it beeps, it's like super loud?
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Okay.
If I only had a teenager here to show me how to make it not beep, I'd push that little slider button that's on the left, and it shows red, so you'd think it would not be making any noises, but it is.
It's like it was right next to the microphone, so when it would beep, it overpowered you, just bleep. And you probably see me flinching a couple times. Whoa, what was that? But it's loud. But anyway, all right, so that answers that question from that loyal reader. Stephen Muller. What advice would you give to an aspiring author in this genre? How did you get started? I'd a totally different answer today than it was 4 years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, 4 years ago, I would tell everyone to go to Kboards. Kboards is an online forum where you can get all your questions answered by peers. And that's where I started. That's where Boyd started. It still has a lot of good information there, but Harvey died. Harvey was the man who was that founded it. Like I founded DD12. Harvey was the man there. And when he passed, his family tried to handle it, but it's a monster of a board. It's huge. And they ended up selling out to somebody, and it's not really the place it used to be. But I still encourage people to go check it out because it does have a lot of old information from us old-timers that can guide you. But nowadays, what I do, if someone's just starting out, there's a book out there, I forget the name of the writer, but it's called Write, Publish, Repeat. And I usually point people to that book because it breaks it down into little bites, little understandable bites. So read that book first and see if you still want to get into this. I don't think people out there realize how hard this business is.
You need today. You need to know the business side of it. It's more of a numbers and marketing game than it is about stories. The best books out there don't sell. Some of the worst stuff out there blows everybody else out of the water, and it'll get horrible reviews. Sometimes I go to those top sellers, and I won't mention any names, even though they're probably ghostwriters, and read the reviews, and it's like, people hate this stuff, but it's selling. Why? And then you find another book that is fan-freaking-tastic, and nobody's buying it because they don't ride that algorithm properly, So it's got nothing to do with the story anymore.
I'll give you a perfect example of that, because there's a question coming up that asked me what my favorite post-apocalyptic book is, and of course I can't pick one of the guys on the team because I don't want to hurt the other guys' feelings. But so I'm going to pick off the team. But there's an indie author called whose name is K.R. Griffiths, and he normally writes horror, horror. I have trouble saying that word, horror.
All right, he writes horror books.
Horror, not horror, but horror. And anyway,
they're called sporting ladies.
He writes about vampires and zombies. He's got a whole zombie series. But my favorite books are going to have to be his books, and it is horror mixed with post-apocalyptic, in which it's the Adrift series, and there's an EMP involved and a cruise line, and there's an underground faction of vampires, and they've been around for centuries and centuries and centuries, and only the elite, like the political people in the world, particularly the United States, I think it was the United States, or actually it may be in Britain because he's from England.
I'm pretty sure a lot of ours are vampires.
Huh?
I'm pretty sure a lot of our political elite are vampires.
Oh, true that. So anyway, only they know about it, and so every so many years, they have this contract that keeps the vampires from coming up in the earth and eating all the humans. They have this contract where they feed them. Basically, they give them a buffet. So the contract has come due, and these elite people build this EMP and they drop it on a cruise line to give these vampires this buffet. I know it sounds really lame, but it is the best series that I've read in a long time. And it's K.R. Griffiths, and the first one is Adrift, I think the second one is Risen, and the third one is Sundown. So it's a trilogy. And I read a lot of books. I used to edit books, I work for a publisher, and I read a lot of books, but I like purple prose mixed in with plain genre, just genre writing. He's got purple prose, he's got the chops. These books are amazing, but this author does not know how to get visibility. He doesn't want to do ads.
He's focused on writing good books. That's not what they want.
Well, they want to do marketing, and so I don't think people realize it. And so they're not selling. They had their day. They sold really well when it first came out because they got that Amazon love. But then more books churned in, and it got pushed to the back. But it happens, and it's happening to mine right now. It's happening to yours, I'm sure, and every single day there's like 2,000 books published, and most of them are shit. They're just absolute shit, but that pushes our books back, and we don't get the visibility.
And to you readers that are listening to this, be honest, and when you search for a book on Amazon, how many pages deep do you go? If you only look at the first several pages that pop up in the search, that's the stuff Amazon's showing you because it's riding the algorithm properly, but that doesn't mean it's the best book out there. So if you aren't looking more than 2 pages deep, nobody else is either. So that's back to that question about what advice would you give an aspiring author to the genre. It's a lot of business, a lot of research.
A lot of research, and if you have a book done, first thing is finish the book. Finish the book. You got to finish the book, because a bazillion people every single day say, I'm going to write a book, and they start a book, and they reach out to all of us, and they get all this advice and everything, and we'd love to give you guys advice. We love that. But typically, it never happens, because finishing that book is not as easy as it seems.
Well, one of these days is another way to say never. That's one of my own personal philosophies.
And if I had to do it all over again, I would finish the book, and then I would reach out to Mark Dawson, and I would take his course, his marketing course. And yes, it's a little expensive. I think it's like $700. He actually has one that's just a couple hundred for really new people. So there's that one they could take. And then if they're really serious, and they finish another book, they should take the marketing class. And Mark Dawson will teach you everything you need to know. And he does it in like little modules. You can go back at any time you want. And it'll teach you how to sell that book, because writing is the easy part. It's selling it that is the hard part. That is the
Yeah,
hard
now
part.
it is. It didn't used to be. It used to be the story, and now it's the story almost doesn't matter. I mean, the product has to be good if you want to be able to hang on to people. But as far as getting readers initially, the stories almost doesn't even matter. You know, it's all that marketing and branding and book covers and the blurb that's written on Amazon. If you just throw a good book out there and think it's going to sell on merit, that's not where the market is today.
Exactly.
Not unless somebody big picks it up and starts blowing your horn for you. You know, odds. Oh yeah, that's not going to happen.
No.
But yeah, there's a lot to it these days. But like she said, the first thing is just get the book done, which means start on it. You know, don't say one of these days I'm going to. Mm-hmm. There was this Yukon show on the History Channel. It was a historically accurate, like a fiction thing. And I remember this one scene where these guys that were going up into the Yukon to do gold mining, they get to this point where they couldn't travel by wagon anymore, and they had to travel by river. And there's just hundreds and hundreds of people are going up there to this gold rush. And they had to build their own boat to float down the river from that point because you couldn't haul a boat on a wagon across the frontier, right? So this one guy, he's telling his cousin or brother, partner, whatever he was that he was traveling with. He said, "How are we supposed to build a boat?" And the other guy said, "Well, we do like everybody else. We start, and then eventually we'll be finished." You know, and that line has stuck with me, and I apply that to everything. If start, and eventually you'll be finished, right? Even if you don't know what you're doing with whatever the project is. But if you don't start, if you keep saying one of these days, it ain't never going to happen.
That's right.
But
that's the worst procrastinators in the world, or I guess I should say we're the best procrastinators in the world. So we're all guilty of it, but yeah, you got to finish that book.
And so you got to start it. Janie Pettigrew, these are all some interesting questions. I can't think of anything to ask, but I will tell you it's been one hell of a ride on this group. Thanks for that. So that's more of a comment. And she shows up to the real life events. She's a regular. Oh, here.
Janie and I met at a real life event, and it was HLS, and we left there, we were maybe around each other, I don't know, altogether an hour. And after we left there, every once in a while we would private message and stuff. And anyway, Janie's become my best friend. She comes to my home. When I had first left my marriage back in September, after a month or so, I was in a really dark place. And it was, it's hard. I'm sure, I don't know about you, Bert, if you've been through a divorce, but divorce is hard. It's hard on everybody. So I was in a very, very dark place. And Jenny got in her car and she drove 10, 11 hours. And she don't play. She's not that tough love, So she'll get on my ass, and that's the kind of friend you need. You need a friend that's not going to listen to you when you say leave me alone, and they're going to just get in their car and come. She made me home cooked meals. She helped me in the yard. She basically just helped me get my attitude in check and just get up. Just get up and get moving. And we've become best friends. And I say that to say DD12 is a very different group. I can tell you 24 stories of people meeting either their significant other or a new best friend or a handful of best friends. So we met there, and that's how we got to be friends.
Awesome.
So I love Janie.
Jackie Langwell, how is the handsome neighbor?
He is wonderful. Let's see if I see him over there. I really haven't seen him much lately. We've had nothing but rain, buckets and buckets and buckets of rain. So the only time we ever see each other is if he's in his backyard and I'm in mine. We might meet at the fence and talk. And I do make him food. So if I have extra food, I'll text him and say, hey, I'm bringing some food. But typically, because of the virus, I would just leave it on his porch, and then he would get it.
You'd fly in paper airplanes back and forth kind of thing.
And then the next morning, I would get a text and say, your bowls are on your front porch. Because I've told these men here, if I give you home-cooked food and you do not return my Tupperware, you will never get it again. So they always give it to me the next day, and so I can fill it up again. But he's doing well. As far as I know. If you're interested, Jackie, maybe you should come up here because they are both very single.
Oh, there's two of them.
Yeah, we've got one's a widower and one's just single.
Samantha Joy Griffith Rankin. Have you thought of starting another book series? It's a two-part question. Have you thought of starting another book series? And how many more books have you thought about writing in your current series? You've kind of touched on that already.
It's either going to be 2 more books, book 4 and 5 in the current series, or it's going to be all the way to 10. So I'll see how book 4 does, and I'll have to deviate the plot and the outline for the overall arc on the overall series if it doesn't do as well as book 3 did. So we'll see about that. And then the other series that I talked about with the trucker's wife, it's post-apocalyptic and erotic suspense. So it's going to give you naughty girls, that dirty stuff that you're begging me for, and apocalyptic, an event. So that answers that. Coming soon.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that sales thing too. That unfortunately has to be a determining factor on what's on our plate next. You know, if you can have people really wanting, you know, book 5 or book 6 in a series, but when you look at, okay, book 1 sold this, book 2 sold that, book 3, and if you see a trend that's heading downhill, because for many reasons a lot of readers don't stay in a series, they move around, and it may not be because they didn't like the series, it may be because somebody else wrote a book while they were waiting on yours and they derailed to that one. So the 5th book in the series is going to sell less than the 4th, the 6th is going to sell less than the 5th, and that's just how it goes. So you got to pay your bills, you know. So if the whole thing isn't contributing to the rolling snowball getting bigger, you kind of got to sometimes make the unpopular choice to move on.
Yep.
Okay, W.J. Lundy. How many chin-ups can you do? And what he means by a chin-up is lifting the beer mug up to his chin. So, just so you know, that's his idea of a chin-up.
Well, and that, I was going to say none, but if that's what he means by a chin-up, I can do a bunch, but I'm not going to feel good the next day. Y'all know I don't drink. I mean, I have been actually practicing.
I practice every day.
And it's, you know, I've been drinking a little bit, some wine here and wine there, just to relax and calm down my overactive brain. But I'll never be a drinker. I'm an idiot when I drink, and I don't feel good, and I'm just not going to do it. I'm a failure at it. So I can do as many as I want, John Lundy, but I don't want
to. The J's for Joquium. Wilhelm Joquium Lundy.
And by the way, for those of you watching, W.J. Lundy is an awesome author of military and post-apocalyptic zombie.
Z-books, yeah.
So it's a huge seller. People love it. And he has converted many people over to zombies with his series. So check it out.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. He's a fellow Navy chief. You know, he's been there, done that. And if you haven't watched the interview I did with him, his stuff comes from, you know, real world experiences, real life experiences. So there's a lot of legitimacy to it. It's not just a guy Googling randomly and writing it down to sound cool. You know, it's all legit.
Yeah, he's active Navy, correct?
What's that?
He's active Navy.
He's reserve. He's an engineer for General Motors. Something to do with the coding for the machines, like not the cars themselves, but for the manufacturing stuff. And he's a reservist.
Okay. My bad. I thought he was active.
Well, he was once upon a time. These days, reserves is almost like being active.
Yeah.
Richard Seymour, whom were you pissed at? Whom were you pissed off at in this picture? It's got that.
I know which picture.
That picture.
I put that picture, and I cannot believe my head.
See, well, they can't see it because my stupid background image
Good. I'm glad they can't see it. Richard, I'm glad you for posting the damn picture. Y'all know better than post that damn picture because I was sick.
Oh, that's the one where you.
Bud was there. I was sick as a dog during that event, and to make it worse, I'm wearing this puke green, which makes me look even sicker. But in answer to the question, I wasn't pissed. I was sick, and I was talking to Kevin Pierce, our narrator. And after seeing that picture, I'm thinking, I cannot believe Kevin has stuck with me as long as he has, because it does look like I'm being a complete bitch to him. That is my RBF. That is my resting bitch face. It's also my I'm sick resting bitch face. So.
And that one's labeled Darth Lisa.
Oh, yeah, the next one is Darth Lisa. That was back when we had, that came about, Bert, if you'll remember, when we had a bunch of people come into the group that were anti-military and anti-LEO, and they had to throw their butts out.
Yeah.
I got tagged with Darth Akers. I've never actually seen Star Wars, so they all think it's hilarious.
You've never seen Star Wars?
Not a single one.
I don't recommend. Well, make a few of the new ones, but just
Well,
avoid the
I don't
Anakin
know.
Skywalker garbage, and stick with the other ones. They're pretty good. As long as you can suspend all reality in your mind, like there's gravity and sound in space, stuff like that. If you can get that out of your head, then it's pretty good. Joe Trott, awesome Joe. Joe shows up to all the events too.
There's a good friend of mine.
I think she was just sleepy and chilly. See, he's taking up for you. That was at HLS a couple years ago, and it was in the low mid-30s that morning.
Yeah, Joe was there. It was cold. It was.
And let's see. Okay, Donald Ramos. Who's your favorite band / artist?
I would have to say it's a British band called Passenger. I'm sure y'all know that Let It Go, that song. But
Frozen.
no, you don't. I know you girls do.
Oh yeah, from Frozen. That's what I said. Let It Go from Frozen.
No, that's not it.
Oh.
No.
That's,
oh my God, no.
I got a 6 and an 8-year-old. That's the Let It Go I know.
Okay, well, then they don't know this song. Anyway, it's the artist's name is Kevin. I don't know what his last name is, but he's British, and the band is Passenger. It's just him and one other guy, and I love all his songs. I love all his albums, and it's very unique music. It's very calming to me, and I listen to it a lot in the car. I listen to it a lot when I need to quiet the voices in my head, the characters and stuff. It sorts me out. I listen to a lot of Christian music, so right now Christian music's really big on my plate, but all-time favorite had to be Passenger right now. That answer will change every single time I do an interview, though.
I've got a weird music list. I listen to Christian music, punk rock, and bluegrass. So this weird little triad of styles.
I like everything, bluegrass and rap. Those are the two I will not listen to.
Bluegrass can be awesome though. More bands need stand-up basses and fiddles and mandolins and banjos.
I love a fiddle. I do love a fiddle. Maybe I need to check out bluegrass again.
Well, I'm not talking about I'm talking about there's a lot of modern bluegrass that's really really good. It's like heavy metal with a fiddle and an upright bass. That's kind of how I think about it.
Okay.
Okay, Joe Trott. After some of your klutz moments, which have you been able to laugh about in retrospect? You have me thinking that perhaps you based Olivia on the least fortunate aspects of your own character, which you have largely overcome by piling on the skills. Any truth there?
Well, Olivia is inspired by someone who I know very well, and that person and I are quite a lot alike. So, no, it wasn't really based on me, but it's based on someone who is a lot like me. So I guess Joe, you're pretty close to hitting that nail right on the head.
I know who Olivia is, Joe. I'll tell you later.
No.
Sam Baker, back in your HR days, what was your biggest headache? And if you could change just one employment law, what would it be?
My biggest headache was companies not paying their blue-collar workers enough, because I did HR in plants, manufacturing plants. And we get these guys in there that they just don't want to pay them what they're worth, and that was always something that I know management hates me. When I went in, I would change things. I would get these guys raises that they deserve, like good raises. Get them coolers out there in the plant, on the plants that did not have climate control. Get them little bands that they could put around their neck to keep them cool. And when I say coolers, I mean like Gatorade coolers. So it would be basically not treating your employees what they're worth and not paying them what they're worth. And if I could change one law, it would be the FMLA law, and I would make it paid. And I wouldn't make it just paid for the person having the baby, the female. I would make it paid for both spouses, whether it be 2 men, 2 women, a man and a woman, whatever. The parents, they need paid FMLA. People need 12 weeks to bond with their child. So that's what I would change.
Oh, that was you. You posted on that thread. Okay. Here, I've got let me pull your other thread up, because there was 2 question threads for this one. And I sent myself that one. Let's see. Alrighty. Donald Ramos. Mustard or mayo on a sandwich? Very important, as the wrong answer can ruin our friendship.
It depends on the sandwich. If we're talking a Southern Mater sandwich, it's definitely mayo, and it's going to be Duke's. Absolutely.
What if
Duke's
it's fried bologna?
Fried bologna is going to be mustard.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Virtual high five.
Yep.
Dean McIntyre, what's up with this pissing contest between you and Ryan?
That was not a nice thing I did to Ryan's cover. It did look like that guy was taking a piss in the leg. I swear it did. And you know me, I have no filter. But Ryan and I have a great relationship. We're like brother and sister. And it's not real. But I do believe him when he says he's going to come here and piss in my leg, because we have a relationship like that. He's going to get me one back for messing up his cover thread.
That needs a Californian. They kind of pee all over the place. So
absolutely. They can even poop on the sidewalk there.
Right. So that's not really that big of a stretch.
Just for him to pee in my leg.
Sorry, Ryan. We know you're not one of those people.
Yeah, we know that.
Allie George, you already answered this question. What was your favorite post-apocalyptic book and why? And you kind of went into that one in detail. Yep. What was the name of it again, just for the shout-out?
The Adrift series by K.R. Griffith.
K.R. Griffith, Adrift.
Yep. EMP starts with E. It's mostly a vampire book, but it is EMP post-apocalyptic.
There we go. And Adrift at Sea, that part actually kind of got me. Up until that point, it was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, there we go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that vampire movie where the vampires went up to the North Slope of Alaska where it stays dark for months at a time. So they didn't have, huh?
Was it True Blood?
It was a movie. That might have been it. But
True series. That's like.
Oh no, yeah, it wasn't that then. This was a movie. Some vampires made their way to the North Slope of Alaska. I can't remember the name of the town, but one of those tiny little towns on the North Slope where once the sun sets, it stays dark for months. Mm-hmm. So I mean, man, that's brilliant because that'd be the zombie heaven. They're totally isolated from the rest of the world. You can't get in or out during the winter. Most of the people leave. But
ice because there's like snow everywhere, right?
Yeah, you can't get out. You're snowed in. It's dark. There's no sunshine coming up. That was a good setting.
I remember the name of that movie. Let me know later because I love vampire movies and shows and books.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'll try to find it and put it out for you. I loved that one.
Okay.
And just the premise was brilliant. Lisa Fortner, how can we watch the interview? Hopefully, yeah. It's a YouTube video. It'll be posted on the page. It's a shareable link, so you'll see multiple links getting thrown around, and it'll be right here on DD12 as well, which obviously if she's hearing this answer, she knows how to watch the video. But Jessica Bashwinger again. I really want to know the other pen name. I have to get Boyd drunk to get him to tell me that.
Well, it won't help them to know it anyway because those books are out of publish, so they can't get them.
All that stuff's free from bootleggers online. Come on.
What's funny about that is, okay, then don't tell them. What's funny about that is on Goodreads where they do all these reviews and stuff, I actually go and check out every once in a while because there's a lot of copies out there, and so I look to see, what kind of reviews are still trickling in. And they are convinced that I am actually this really high-profile, very successful erotica author writing under a secret pen name. And I looked her up, and I'm like, heck yeah, because that's actually a compliment. But no, I'm not sharing that.
She may be pirating your books and making all the money on it. That may be why they think of that. You can check into that.
I need to check into that.
Kelly Amos. I just want you to know I love you and respect you for the woman you are. Oh. See, I tried to read that as a question, and then halfway through I realized it wasn't a question and it got all awkward. Amy Jennings, this is the best question so far. This is amazing. What kind of tractor do you like best?
Green. That's all I know about tractors. Green.
Green. I got a green one.
So is that John Deere?
And parts are expensive though.
Ouch.
Yeah, that paint's expensive though. You buy a water pump for $20, but if you want a green water pump, it's $400.
Are you serious? You can just buy a water pump, paint it green?
Yeah, the John Deere parts are crazy. I've got a 4-wheel drive John Deere, and the 4-wheel drive solenoid that actually pulls it out of 4-wheel drive. It's basically like just a little magnet that pulls a rod, and it takes it out of 4-wheel drive, and it default fails in 4-wheel drive with a spring that keeps that thing loaded in. Well, it's just a stupid little electrical coil. There's nothing to it. It's probably a $15 part, and from John Deere, it's $400. So my John Deere stays stuck in four-wheel drive.
Let's go test it.
And yeah, damn the man. The man's holding my tractor down. Dennis Reynolds, a few questions. Would you consider a contest for a lucky reader to win dinner and signed copies of your books? And if you could own any vehicle, what would it be?
Okay, the first question, sure, I would do that, but it would be chaperoned. It would be chaperone dinner.
No creepy vans pulling up, you know.
No creepy rape vans.
Yeah, right. Never trust a guy with a creepy rape van.
I'd probably have a couple of people in the restaurant that you don't know are there for me to. I mean, and even if it was a woman, I'm not saying just the men, but. Well,
the men are creepy, so you know you'd have to.
Come to a DD12 event, and you don't have to do that. I mean, me and Bird and Hort and Boyd and Jeff Moats and several others, we sit down and eat with you. I mean, half the time we're providing the food, so we'll do dinner with y'all. Just like y'all, you know, sit around a campfire, sit around a picnic table. So come to the events.
Just keep
see where the authors are going and go there.
Just keep throwing beer in my cooler. I'm gonna sit there with you all night.
Yeah, if you bring moonshine, you'll be real popular with the DD12 guys.
So if you ever see Joe Trott's Steve Bird's never bottomless cooler or never ending cooler, there's I don't know what it is, but we go to those events and I'll bring the beer cooler and I'll have it stocked with beer that I bought, and then just all night long it's like the beer continues to multiply and it never runs out. It's crazy. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Kay Marie, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Robin Williams' What Dreams May Come.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Next.
Mine would be the vampire movie. I can't remember the name too. Hey, if anybody watching this knows the name to that movie, write it in the comments.
Yeah, write it in the comments and make sure you PM me the name of the movie because I want to see it.
Paul Tosh, what's your favorite shit hit the fan weapon / caliber?
I'm glad you asked because I got it right here. Hashtag shoot like a girl. This is a Desert Eagle, a baby Desert Eagle.
Desert Eagle.
And I actually write about these in my Shoot Hit the Fan series. Elmer, he has a set of Beagles, and he gives them to the twins, Gabby and Olivia. But it's a 9mm, and even though I really thought it was going to be smaller, this is from Car Arms. It's made by Magnum Research. But I really thought it was going to be smaller because it is the baby Eagle. But look how big this is in my hand.
Well, it's a baby compared to the Desert Eagle, which is like 3 times that size.
Yeah, the Desert Eagle's as big as me.
Right.
So, but this is a nice gun. It's got a narrow profile here. It's not too heavy for me. I love this gun. I'm actually having a holster made for it by this guy on Etsy, and I cannot wait to conceal carry it. I'm getting a shoulder holster made for it. I know you probably don't think that's a good idea, but I have.
Hey, whatever it takes to have it with you on a regular basis. That's what's important. You know, the gun you have with you is better than the one you left at home. You know, so whatever it takes to make you actually want to carry it. If it's uncomfortable when you don't do it, what's the point?
Do you have one of these, Bird?
Nope, I'm mostly for handguns. I'm a 1911 guy, and I've got a bunch of Glockish type stuff, and black powder cowboy stuff, all kinds of cowboy stuff. I love revolvers, even modern ones, old ones. I love the simplicity. Huh?
Do you do the cowboy action events?
I used to. That's why I have a whole fleet of cowboy guns. That was the funnest. Just for anybody out there that's listening, if you ever want to get into competitive shooting, but you don't, if you don't want to. And so if you don't want to be around all the jerks that are taking everything too seriously and trying to show who's the bigger alpha male, not that everybody's like that, but cowboy action shooting is where that does not exist. Everybody.
I'm obsessed by that. I'm really obsessed because of their rigs. Is that what you call it? The belts and the whole.
Yeah, and everybody's just a blast. Everybody gets into it. If you showed up, if you forgot your guns. If you forgot your guns at home and you show up at the match and you realize, oh, damn, I forgot my guns, people would be like handing you theirs hand over fist. You borrow mine, use mine, because they want you to be there to have a good time. Whereas at those more competitive, tactical type events, yes, I said tactical, not tactical. At those events, people be glad you forgot your guns at home because there's one less competitor up against them. You know what I mean? It's just a different mentality.
Yeah, I got on YouTube and I watched several videos of that cowboy action stuff, and it looks like a very fun hobby. And there's none here in the east side though. I mean, in the east of the United States, is there?
I did all of mine in Kentucky, so I know they're around here. I've not done any in Tennessee. I know they do them at the Oak Ridge Sportsmen's Association in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Obviously, they do them there. And they've got like the wooden saloons built, and they've got all the big props and stages, and so you do like indoor saloon gunfights and stuff in part of the stages in real wooden buildings. So they've got it going on there. So if you looked around, SAS, the SASS, Single Action Shooters Society, that's where to really find the info on that. But if you want to shoot for fun, can't beat it. If you want to shoot for fun, you can't beat it.
When the world opens back up and this pandemic bullshit is out of the way, and I get at least one, maybe two books out, I'm going to do that because it looks like a fun hobby, and I can't wait to get started on it.
And here's another thing to think about with that: the lever action rifle was essentially the first, what they would call an assault rifle. It was like the first AR-15 because high capacity, because they shot the short pistol cartridges. So you'd have like 14 rounds in a lever action gun, and you could shoot them very fast compared to anything else of the day, and actually pretty fast for today. So should the politics ever get to the point where we lose our semi-automatics, up until the point that they take those too, you could a lever action rifle, especially one that shoots a pistol cartridge, is extremely effective. Good out to 100 yards, so good for all the stuff you'd use your intermediate cartridge carbine for today.
Good to know.
Because, the way the political winds blow, you never know what we're going to have available to us in the future.
Absolutely.
Andrea Reynolds, or at least what you'd be willing to admit that you have. Andrea Reynolds.
I'm telling Lake in that boat. Lake.
A lot of boating accidents happen on my pond. Andrea Reynolds, if you could tell your 18-year-old Lisa one thing, what would it be?
Oh, I didn't see that question.
That's one of the brand new ones that popped in right before I called you.
Okay.
You're like, dang it, I wasn't prepped for that one.
It would be to invest in Amazon. Buy more stock in Amazon and Facebook.
Buy stock in Amazon back when it was first founded, when everybody was constantly making fun of Jeff Bezos because they couldn't turn a profit.
Yep, and Facebook.
I lived in Seattle at the time, and it was all the news, 24/7. Amazon's still unprofitable. Everybody was doom and gloom. Amazon's going to fail. It's like everybody wanted to see it happen. Mm-hmm. But showed them.
Yeah, you showed them.
Well, that's it for the questions, and we've hit the hour and a half mark, which is enough to scare. That's enough to scare a lot of people away from starting a video. But it's been a good time. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to communicate to the folks?
No, I do want to say a very, very special. I mean, yes, not no, yes. For the DD12 people that are listening to this, I know that there's other people that listen besides our group, but I only really care about our group. Anyway, a big heartfelt thank you for what y'all did for me last week. It was a complete shock and a complete surprise. And Janie and the Mod Squad have said the best way that I can show you how much I appreciate it is to graciously accept it and appreciate it. And I do. Thank you very, very much. And that's it.
I thought we were going to get to see a tear there for a second.
Yeah.
I'll edit one in.
Oh, on camera.
I'll edit it. I'll add it in. Alrighty then. Well, folks, thanks for sticking with us for an hour and a half. We hope you.
Someone to interview you because no one's interviewed you.
Well, that would be like a 3-hour interview. You can do it. We can do that in a separate video. But this would end up being like 3 hours long, and nobody would even start it. And I don't know if you've ever uploaded anything to YouTube, but you'd think they use dial-up. It's about a week for every minute of video to upload. They're slow, but so.
And y'all buy my books. Buy my books. Buy book 4 when it comes out, and buy my books and keep us going. And buy Bird's books. He's an awesome writer.
And, if you can't afford to buy her books, they're available for free on many pirated websites, and I'll make sure I put the links to those in the comments below.
He's lying. Don't waste your internet time. He's lying.
Yeah, those are, the traps. Don't do it. That's,
Yeah, you gotta download viruses on your computer to use those parasites. Seriously.
Exactly. That's no cool. Authors aren't rich. Authors are lucky to eat. So don't rip us off, please. But well,
In fact, I can't wait to turn this around and put you on the hot seat.
yeah, man, I would like that too.
You and Hort seem to like to do these videos. Like, you guys are so super comfortable doing these, or not videos, but these interviews. And I'm going to be in trouble because I have been asked to do, I don't know, at least 25, 30 of these. And I promised Jim Cobb that if I ever did one, his would be first. And I forgot about it till just this moment. I'm so sorry, Jim Cobb. What's the name of Jim's podcast? Do you remember?
I don't know his podcast. I'm familiar with his magazine.
Okay, well, he's got a podcast that is very popular, and I was supposed to do that. So everybody look up Jim Cobb and go check out his podcast. And the second one I do will be Jim Cobb's.
Yeah, so the where this idea to start doing these came up was just this. It was the beginning of when people were starting to get locked down, and we were supposed to have the Heritage Life Skills event where we're all going to get together and talk in real life, and this was kind of a way to get together, like on all the cool touchy-feely virtue signal commercials you see on TV these days.
My twin just showed up. I mean, my twin just showed up. So I will bid you all adieu. And Bird, thanks so much for the interview. Really appreciate it. Got my feet wet. I don't like these things, but this wasn't painful at all because of you.
Well, I appreciate it. Yep. Just have a drink on me tonight, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.